All right. Hey, we are here. Pablo, this is our 41st episode of the official podcast of the EFFL. How's it been?
Been good. Got a little haircut here because I was looking at shaggy for sure. And
you look clean.
Thank you.
You look clean. So
it feels good.
Well, we are post Superbowl. So we're past all that. So the NFL season officially is over. But you know what we have here, Paul? We have a special guest, a longtime friend of mine and a longtime friend of the Extreme Fantasy Football. This is James Ranger. What's up, James?
Hi, gentlemen. Good to be here.
All right, good to see you. We'll get back to you in a little bit. So on today's show, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl itself, the game, and we'll get James's input on what he thought about the game. And we're going to talk about the FSGA, which is a conference coming up that I will be in Las Vegas next week. So I'll be in the sunny Vegas town, which James actually went to school at the UNLV. So I'll get a little bit of experience from that. Also going to talk about women in fantasy sports and fantasy sports betting, which is pretty cool. And then lastly, James is an expert on sports bet itself. So we're going to talk to him about that. And we'll do all that in about 2 seconds. So hang on. All right, so Mr. James Ranger, what's up, man?
It is. It was a rough Super Bowl for this.
Yeah.
That was not a very entertaining game.
It was not. No, it was not a very entertaining game. So James Ranger comes to me. He is a very, very good friend of our Uncle Jack. So Jack and James go back a long
time.
On
the show probably only 5 episodes ago or something.
Jack was on the show. So that was actually pretty cool having him here. So James, you've been playing fantasy football, for quite a while and different formats. So tell us a little bit about some of the history of what James Ranger had. And you can see it in the screen, we call it Ranger. So if I call you Ranger, it's okay too. About your fantasy football experience.
I'm a dinosaur. I should be a millionaire 10 times over. We had the same format back in 1985, 86. And if you were a commissioner, you didn't want to be a commissioner again for the rest of your life because you'd have to wait for the USA Today to come out on a Wednesday to get the Monday night game.
Oh, yeah.
And you wouldn't get the finalized. Like, if you could get the final week that Friday, it was a miracle. And you'd be busting the commissioner's chops. But we've seen it come to fruition where it's so regular. And I've played all formats, whether it's keeper, dynasty, your regular draft. Every year you get a new team. And I enjoy the league. Extreme Football League is nice because it does give you a chance to get that new lineup. Somehow this year I finished second. I went on the last second run, had to have 5 situations happen. It's our dynasty league. I have Christian McCaffrey. Nothing, Sam Darnold brings me in with a 5-touchdown day, makes me get in the playoffs. And I finished second. Big day, but I love football. I it's for entertainment purposes only. And you just sure.
Is that an asterisk there somewhere? So our lawyers don't get involved.
Right. Fantasy football though it's a part of your life, Right. It's like you'll follow that stuff. It doesn't matter what day it is. You can't wait till NFL Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so many people are fans, and it's seriously so many people I know have missed by one leg. I'm a prop betting guy, so the Super Bowl didn't do me justice. It was trouble right away. And when you got Barkley scoring a touchdown to hook up, I didn't hit three of them, three-leggers, and that was expected. But my little bet on Jalen Hurts to win MVP didn't offset the loss.
Okay, all right.
And I tell you what, great. It was a disappointing game. We're going to stop with that, hopefully. Give us a competitive game.
Yeah. So, so just James, so Paul finished his first season playing fantasy football really a long time. He was a kid. I think I forced him to play years and years ago. So, but this is his first time as an adult. He actually played. And Paul, I think you had a good time, didn't you?
Definitely. So really quick, as a producer, I just got to step in and say that, we are getting some like visual freezes. It's not a big deal, but just in case the audience is like watching and they're wondering what's going on, we're just going to work with it. It's not seeming to go through on the audio, so it's great, and we're happy to have it anyways. Second off, I haven't got to mention this, but James, it's an honor to meet you, man. You're pretty dang good at this whole fantasy football thing. So that's awesome. This has been my first year. And yeah,
I'm
you seem
that good that my big bet was like Xavier Worthy over 5.5 rush yards. And once the game played out, like I cashed out not to lose all of it.
Right.
But you knew the play wouldn't play into it. So you got to be smart enough to get something back rather than nothing.
Right.
Oh, definitely.
And that's the beauty of these sports betting platforms out there. Like, I won't even say names, but there's a few I don't want to play. And there's one of the big boys I don't want to play.
Okay.
Sure.
Because they don't treat you as well. It's the middle of the pack guys that treat you better. And when they have incentives for you to bet. Like, I would have never bet 5 players to get a first touchdown, but if I can get a chunk of $1 million in bonus bets, why not?
Sure.
Why not bet it?
Right. So I think Paul was referring to your fantasy football prowess, because your name was littered all over our standings in our leagues this year. You were, I think you have, between you and your wife, you have 4 teams, I believe, right, on our extreme fantasy football platforms. And it seems like every year, James, you and your wife Candace are always up there. So I won't ask you for your strategy, but whatever you do it very well. And this is Paul's first year of seeing your name all over the board. So congrats on a very solid season.
Yeah, it's it's just about the funnels information people get. And if you can look at a certain, like Blaine Fantasy, you got Yahoo and ESPN, and if you have a team in one of those leagues, you can just look at the player projections, and boy, does that help.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's more intimate than that. It's like, I want to know if Joe blows it's his birthday. Like, that's why Saquon not scoring is crazy. It was his birthday.
Yeah.
I bet Cooper DeJean to win MVP, but man, if you would have got another pick 6,
yeah,
it's like $5 for 2,500.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Something crazy, but it's all about your funnels information, and it's all about knowing your defense's weaknesses against whether it's the pass or rush. And if you do a little homework, it's just about throughout the week. And now there's more AI platforms out there where you can focus on what they're thinking.
So like, this is something that, well, not the AI, but having you here is perfect, because I've noticed as I've gotten into this, all the different layers that go into the research behind, whatever choices you might want to make in your leagues. And I think that having you here, because the way you're talking about specific how defenses are going to react to particular offenses, birthdays, probably like weather conditions, traveling things, all those sorts of things are things that my dad also mentions. And they're the kind of tier, the level just beyond what I'm getting into now, because what I'm recognizing now is like, highlights, community conversations, as well as, statistics, looking back through things, projections. So I'm gleaming what I can, which has definitely been very helpful, like extremely helpful, and a lot of fun too. I'm not going to lie. Being into fantasy has made watching NFL a lot more exciting again. And it's been...
Oh, it will.
It does, yes.
It's really cool to be a part of that. So absolutely, I would love to hear if you talk about more of those like things in particular that you're looking for, especially for like the Super Bowl game. Maybe you could say like what you were trying to key into on not necessarily the bets you were making, but what was influencing said bets there, So we could always talk about that.
Patterns, you know what I mean? It's like, for example, Xavier Worthy.
Mm-hmm.
The week before, if I would have had an unlimited credit line with Todd, I would have said, "Hey, make it $500,000 today." I'm going to put it all in Xavier Worthy, because you'll find that platforms will take off a bet. They'll just remove it.
Right.
And look, not the Super Bowl, but the week before, Xavier Worthy was over 3.5 yards rushing. And when I get that chance, I was like, man, I should have bet more than 500. Because in the first quarter, second drive, he says a rush rate yards and he's in.
Mm-hmm.
I like more of those style bets. Like, and the Super Bowl, I am not even joking. I'm a belligerent, but I do my homework, and if you can't win it all the time,
Sure.
you're never gonna win. And if you could be 60-40, you'd be a legend.
Yeah.
And if you bet, and bet every game, like I used to think I could win every game.
Right.
And I have major stories like where I started out 97. I was 21-1 against the line in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, I was whooping butt. But in the Super Bowl, I had 46 bets.
Man.
And I had them.
How do you place 46 bets?
I like prop bets. So I was covering myself each way.
Okay.
But Travis Kelce was a bust.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas Goedert was a bust. Anybody Russian was a bust except for Jalen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I don't know if Mahomes got there. He might not have. But it was disappointing, in any, like, Xavier Worthy getting the lucky, big play. He's going to make a play. That boy's something.
Mm-hmm.
He is special. And could you imagine them with Tyreek Hill?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, But I like betting wise, like with respect to Extreme Fantasy Football League, I use this project. I'm not giving away my master plan, but this is the hugest help. And every week on Tuesday, I'll write down all the games and I'll compare and I'll write down the top 5 high scoring games. And I don't care if half of my team or all my team is Detroit Lions, because when they go off, you're gonna be at the top of the charts. When you get Amon-Ra and David Montgomery and too bad Gibbs and all those guys didn't get there, because that would have been a Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
Then we would have had a blast of a Super Bowl.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were rooting for Washington and Buffalo.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely disappointing there from our perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is what it is until next year, and hopefully KC doesn't ever get there again. You know what I mean? You want to stop talking about Mahomes. Hopefully they never get there again.
Yeah, I'm
and if
tired.
You want to keep underrating Philly and their dominant D, and Jalen Hurts is admirable. He's not going to hurt you.
Well, I guess the next question I want to ask you guys. I'm going to start a little debate here, and I don't care who takes what side, but I'll take the other side. So I think what happened in the Super Bowl, I think we all saw this. That was it a case of the Chiefs' O-line being subpar, or was it a case of the Eagles' D-line being dominant? So I'm going to ask both of you for your quick inputs here. And so take a side. So take one of the sides. If you had to build your team, would you start building your team as a strong O-line, or would you go for a strong D-line? And I'll let Paul, you go first.
Yeah, sure. So it's interesting. I was thinking about this when I saw it on the list, and I was like, to me, the question is like proactive or reactive. What do you value on your team, right? And I think defensive is more reactive. Offense is definitely proactive.
Sure.
And the old adage that that's weird that I'm going to be the one saying that, but
you're 28,
right? The adage of like the best defense is a good or like a great offense or something.
Mm-hmm.
That term applies, and so ultimately, I think that having a good offense, being able to put numbers on the board, it sets a tone, and absolutely you need to have a good defense to back it up. But without the offense, anyways, you can't really win games. So to me, I would say offense first. But
okay,
I would love to hear the
James?
debate on this because I could see it.
Well, if you go back in history, like just think about when the Rams won it with Marshall Faulk and Emmitt Smith won it with the Cowboys. And, if you think about it and go back through history, those were some of the most dominant offensive lines. Now, I wouldn't consider KC that. They didn't have one of the most dominant.
No, not at all.
But their defensive line was admirable, controlling one of the best offensive lines in Philly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think both defensive lines played pretty well. it's about an interception here. It's about play script. It's about when KC can't even have their play script right when they've been there so long and they're going 3 and out. What, 3 out of 4 drives maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Right,
man.
Then you're talking. That has more to do than a D line, but that D line had a huge influence. I had 2 MVPs that weren't offensive, and it was Cooper DeJean and Jalen Carter.
Mm-hmm.
And that Jalen Carter's a nasty son of a gun, man.
Right.
So just to make sure we don't stray too far from the point, are you saying that you would prefer and value defense more, maybe?
I would. Well, that's what they say. Defense wins championship. In that respect, from what we saw this year, I would have to change my gears. I've always been a believer that offensive lines are the way to go.
Yeah.
And in the long haul, but that could change your mind just seeing that performance right there.
Man,
and
spoken
both
like
their edge guys dominated.
Right.
For Philly, I'm talking.
I was gonna say spoken like a Harbaugh fan or something from Michigan, but.
You know what? I'm a stupid Bears fan. My loyalties have lessened throughout the years.
Well, we won't discuss.
Everybody thinks that we're gonna be whatever.
Yeah.
But Jim Harbaugh wasn't bad. But that's what they're saying about Rex Grossman wasn't the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Tomczak wasn't the answer.
Right.
Jim Harbaugh was, but he was too reckless. He's going to get killed. Sure. In that game, in that era where they didn't protect the quarterback using big.
Yeah, it's definitely changed. That's definitely old school there. So let me go back to the question that I asked. So you guys both kind of picked offense. So I'll take the natural point, counterpoint, and I'll go with the defense here.
Mm-hmm.
Having the ability to put pressure, and I'm not even saying you got to get 6 sacks. 6 sacks was an example of the Chiefs' O-line just being completely outmanned. But even having pressure, let's say I give me only a couple sacks, but if I get pressure on the quarterback, they have 2 rookie cornerbacks on the Eagles team in Mitchell and DeJean. So you have rookie quarterbacks and you have a 4-man rush. Having the ability to dominate a middle top 10 whatever offense the way that they did with only rushing forward, they did not blitz. And I had an interesting stat that I saw on Monday that this is the 6th game in the Super Bowl where one team did not blitz at all. The 6th time. And I'm like, I don't remember seeing that at all. But I was able to watch this game on Sunday, and I realized with 2 rookie corners, with the pressure and the sacks that they were putting on Mahomes, those corners did well. Nobody on the Chiefs receiving team did anything well. I mean, towards the end, Worthy got some deep things, but the game was over at that point. So I'm just like, man. So I'll take a solid defense on D-line, because now if I can play 4, I'm dropping 7. If I'm dropping 7, I can have 2 corners, and I still have 5 of the guys roaming the field and linebackers and safety. So I like the D-line over the O-line in that aspect. So.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, and I would say that when it comes to setting a tone, you get a lot of value for the offensive line, right? I think that ultimately what it comes down to for me, which I'm just going to continue to debate against you just for theoretical purposes, right. But what it comes down to for me is that I think if you can't set a tone and you can't get that momentum rolling, then your team has no shot of winning. And absolutely your defense is going to have to stand up to said momentum and continue this until you can get hold of the ball again on offense, right? So, of course, the 2 of these are working in tandem the whole time. But when it comes to getting momentum rolling, you yourself as a team, hear me out, all right? So,
okay.
So you can't get the ball rolling without your offense. You can swing your opponent's momentum with defense, and that's good. That's really helpful sometimes, and being able to counteract whatever they're doing is maybe a mental game that's going to get in their offense's head as well. But what comes down to the initial push momentum, the control that you can develop through this, which is oftentimes decided on the O-line as well, and the the sort of mental game that you start to play when you start to have that ball rolling, it all comes down from a good solid offense. And I think a good O-line being able to support even a decent runner, it doesn't have to be, Saquon Barkley level. It could be, just a good A-grade runner.
Right.
And then any good quarterback to pilot this, I think you could have a lot of magic happening regardless of the situation. And I think at that point, being able to give the grace period of the defense to maybe let a goal through or, let a touchdown through on momentum-wise and let those things happen because you have enough on your side that it's not detrimental to your overall gameplay. Right?
Okay.
So, I don't know. I still think that offense has a lot of value to it, at least, with the O-line especially compared to the D-line, which don't get me wrong, I do love a good D-line. There's some dogs over there, but,
Ranger, any more words on those two position spots?
I just, if you were to ask a million people, I think you would have the most popular answer would be offensive line, just because that's how we've always thought, and people want points, and I bet prop bets because I want to see points.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And they're going on record.
It's so crazy like that,
And they're going on record here with saying, as I chose D-line only because you guys chose O-line. If I had to start a team, I would pick O-line first. And the Lions are a good example of that. The Lions O-line kept them in the game for 18 games this season, and the D-line, because of injuries, didn't work, and we saw that in the Commanders game, that the D-line could not get any pressure on there. So the O-line was keeping us in the game. We got 500 yards, I believe, in that game. I know a lot of it was passing towards the end, but the D-line got exposed, and we couldn't stop. We couldn't stop Brian Robinson. We couldn't stop Jaden Daniels. So, again, I do feel the best way to go is offense. But just for the fun of the debate, I did choose defense. So, quickly, outlook on both teams. Records. Do you feel that the Chiefs or the Eagles will be in next year's Super Bowl at this point right now?
Are you asking me first, Tom?
Either one. Sure. Go ahead, James.
Go for it, James.
I'm saying they aren't going to ever make a Super Bowl again.
Either one, the Chiefs or the Eagles? Or
I don't think the Chiefs will make. Okay. I'm going to go out on a limb. It's just a tough division. And, when you think about it, Burrow, they had a horrible start.
Right.
Herbert and San Diego, they were right there. The Bills, God bless them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the toughest.
And Lamar.
It's so difficult. I really was, I'm not a Lions fan, but you just feel for everybody had to be their favorite team for decades of just never winning.
Yeah.
You can root for those teams, but I don't think Kansas City is going to ever make it again.
Okay. How about the Eagles?
That's a bold statement.
How about the Eagles?
Very dominant team, underrated. You say rookies when those two defensive backs in DeJean and Mitchell are here to stay, and they're going to be all pros.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and
you think
how they just hit the lottery. Yeah. And when Jalen Carter fell to them a few years back, it's just because he was they perceived him as trouble maker, right. But he would have been the number one pick in the draft.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
If you didn't have any type of background that he did.
So you think the Eagles will be back?
Absolutely. I think they will be back. I'm not saying next year. That's too tough a question. I'm rooting for Detroit if I had to. And my Bears, they're never going to win.
So, all right, Pablo, how about your thought? What's your thought on the Chiefs and the Eagles' outlook for next year?
Yeah, I mean, unless they lose somebody important on their offense, I think that they could still see just as dominant as an offense next year as we saw this year. I don't see any necessary drop-off that we're going to get. And when it comes down to Patrick Mahomes,
Eagles, right?
For the Eagles, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. For the Chiefs, I would say that Patrick Mahomes has a chance here to kind of recognize what he's got to do and to step up the game a little bit and say, hey, I need to be the quarterback that I was. I need to be able to make things happen and actually kind of push my team to success as opposed to kind of just getting ahead of the line just barely, And there's a chance for it, and if he does, then maybe he could kind of dominate things and get the ball back, because they do have a good defense, right? They have stuff to work with. It really comes down to somebody to take control. We need some like big playmakers over there.
Yeah.
I would definitely say the next 3 years, 5 years maybe, I wouldn't expect to see him back in there unless Patrick Mahomes does something different. I wouldn't expect to see him back in there for that window.
Well, I've been quoting on these shows since the beginning of the season, Paul, wasn't I? That Mahomes is overrated.
Yeah. Oh,
And-
definitely.
And his value on the exchange shows that. I don't know what it is right now. I don't have it in front of me, but he was only a middle of the road quarterback, and I think that's all he is anymore, is a middle of the road quarterback.
Yeah.
Happens to be on a really creative team. I think what Andy Reid does as coach is fantastic. But I think the window is closed for the Chiefs going forward. And the Eagles, again, I'm a Lions fan like you, James. I think the Lions will be there next year. But man, those Eagles are tough. The Eagles are tough.
Can't overlook them. I've just never been a fan
Right.
of that whole division.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but that's a tough team, and they can only get better.
So
They, who doesn't want to play for the Eagles? If you know what I mean,
Right.
Like, they
Yeah,
just won the Super
right.
Bowl, so
Go
they have
Birds.
that type of power right now.
Yeah.
all right.
So 1 minute, I actually got a question here.
Sure.
So you have been a part of the exchange as well as the EFFL, or just the EFFL? As a question.
You didn't do the exchange, did you, this year, James? Did you?
Yeah, no, I didn't get involved like that. Sometimes, I'm an old buck.
Oh yeah, no
That's
worries.
just
man.
a lot of change for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I bet I'd do okay,
But next year,
I think you'd be great at it.
Yeah, I'll try it next year.
next year, yeah, 'cause we'll have a new way of doing things next year, so kind of cool.
Definitely, yeah. It should be a lot more accessible to anybody just to try out. So that'd be great. But I think that what I'm interested in is to know how you react and how you perceive and enjoy or dislike the actual numbers for the players in the way that it's displayed, because that was the best thing for me about it, was the fact that you could make a lot more educated choices, a lot more educated picks, and get good value for them, even if they aren't going to be the big players that everyone's going to be hearing about. And I think that the more knowledge that you have, the more you can weaponize that knowledge. And I think that that's something that we saw from somebody as well who found success in that, was that they made a bunch of trades off a bunch of people that they were aware of, and it was successful, extremely successful for them. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to. And I think that knowledge would be something that you have for sure. But since you did do the EFFL, I just want to question you here. Like, what do you like about it? And then, like, what are a couple things you dislike as well? Just to be fully upfront about it.
The biggest thing that I do like is that it's a new lineup every week. And I liked the split in the season. It made you got there.
Yeah.
And if you do get it again and get in the top two again, you're getting your
money back.
So you got. I did that once on one team this year, then I crashed and burned.
Sure.
But the hardest thing for this league, in my eyes, the biggest hurdle is just that it's every week you gotta do it.
Right.
Like, I got in multiple best ball leagues with multiple platforms, and my dynasty league is that, and I don't have to touch my lineup.
Sure.
And that is the only tough thing, but I like looking at it every week. It's just another task at hand.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? It's just like your own team. You have like the league that we're in, just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
For fun, I mean, it's something that's ingrained in me. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
But maybe some would, I don't know. Everybody's not the same,
I have to brag. Actually, I beat James in our traditional league on ESPN, didn't I? I got lucky there, James. I got lucky this year.
See, if we had some money on it, maybe it'd be different.
Yeah.
Like the head-to-head for me and you, Todd?
Yeah, maybe. Well, you did. And actually, give you props. You did. We had a private Range versus Bailey. Lost you again.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Okay, there you are.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
I figured it out.
Okay.
The phone won't mess,
So we actually had you and I had a head-to-head private league in our Extreme this year, and you beat me. So props to you for doing that. So, all right, hey, we got to move on a little bit here because we are getting past our half-hour time at this point.
Well, maybe not. We do have a little bit of edited out that we'll have to go through.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, okay. All right. So, James, quickly, you were in Las Vegas. You went to UNLV, and I know you have an interesting story about Tarkanian and something that you have of his. But so you want to share that quickly before I talk about me heading out to Las Vegas next week?
Well, I was just really the life of a party type of kid, and I really liked to tip back a few, and it started in like 8th grade. That was this area in this where
8th
I'm
grade.
at.
Let's see, quick math here. Carry the 1, 5 by 2. You weren't 21 yet.
No, but I was a regular at like 10 casinos as an 18, 19-year-old, and they got pissed when I turned 21. But then they let me back in like a week later.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, I sidetracked. UNLV, one night we liked the Barbary Coast, which is now the Cromwell across from Caesars and what now is the Bellagio and Bally's, that Four Corners. And that was our place to hang out. But I ended up coming home with Tarkanian's parking sign.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I still have it, and like I haven't seen him. And if I did see him, like Moses Scurry was one of the players that I keep up with on Facebook, but like we'd walk in the room and we wouldn't know each other until we talked about a few things.
Okay.
Because he knows about that.
Yeah. So those of us who don't know who Tarkanian is, he was the coach, basketball coach of the UNLV national championship.
Yeah, Jerry
team.
Tarkanian, God rest his soul.
Yep. So
he stuck on the towel, and that was a dominant team. I was really one of the luckies to see a national championship as a college student.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, so next week, James, I'm going to be heading out to Las Vegas. There is a Fantasy Sports and Gaming Association conference out there. And, hey, you know what? We are one of the sponsors of that conference.
That's fabulous.
So looking forward to going out there. And I have to give a 3-minute elevator pitch about the Extreme Fantasy Football and our 2025 plans. So it's going to be kind of cool to get on stage and share my ideas. I will have my buddy Joe Bliss with me out there. So he'll be helping me out as we walk through this conference. So looking forward to having a little sunshine. We got some sun today, actually, but in essence, some warmth. Warmth out there in Las Vegas versus where we are here in Michigan. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it'll be much better than it is over here.
Yes.
Yeah, chilly over here too.
And I am known to partake in some of the table games out there too. So I'll definitely find a spot. Craps is my game, so I'll find a spot out there to throw a little dice once in a while, see how that goes.
Nice.
But all right, so
they used to call this the Golden Arm.
Oh, well.
I'd roll you a banger.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. Let's hit a few points. On that craps table. So James, your wife Candace has been playing, and she'd been one of our Extreme executives and been playing with us for our entire 6 years previous time. So I want to thank Candace for being part of that league. But one of the things I've been learning about going through some of the FSGA and the stats and all that, I was not aware of the growth in the female population of fantasy sports and overall sports betting. Some research here tells me that from 2018 through 22, 16.6% increase of women playing fantasy sports, but more impressively, between the same time frame, again 18 to 22, a 56% increase in women sports bettors. So I'm shocked, and that's great. I mean, we do have my daughter played, and I know Candace played, and we have a few women in our leagues. But give me your thoughts on women in this fantasy world and sports betting world.
I tell you what, just for being an avid bettor on 5 platforms this year, the whole year, There's certain ones that have female celebrities picking you a 3-legger.
Okay.
It's like rolling with Dolan. Like she was on fire. Like it was the wild card weekend.
Okay.
The divisional playoffs. She was on fire. You know what I mean? Shannon Somerville. She's
Nice.
on this Wine Star. She is knowledgeable.
Okay.
It just takes over people. Everybody likes to gamble.
Right. I want to
it's
put a
just-
little slight disclaimer out here. I feel like we should say this. Like, everybody make sure that you're gambling responsibly out there. We do not condone irresponsible gambling, and we're just trying to, have some fun and make some good, entertaining content for everybody.
Man, you got the lawyer thing going on today, Paul.
I have food in my belly today and a roof over my head.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. No, but I was
But it is. It's more. And you know what? It's a lot of the boyfriends saying, "Girlfriend, hey, why don't you?" Like with Candace, I go, and she didn't do this year, and I was like scolding her about it. But man, she joined one of the platforms, bet $5, get 200 free, and she cashed out 286, and just never used it again.
right.
Like you can do. My mentality is I want to do all of those platforms just to get a free bet or a free shot at it, But the women the men, the husbands, the boyfriends, they'll rub off on them once in a while and say, "You got to do this. I'm going to refer you to accept my referral link."
Yeah. There's a great show out there.
And then all of a sudden,
there's a great show out there called The League. The League. It's about fantasy football. Great show.
Oh, awesome.
And I think about that sort of woman who's interested in the game because her husband does it, but she's maybe a little bit better at it and she thinks she could do it better. I think absolutely I could see that motivating women to get into it. And hey, I'm not the greatest at looking at data. I'm not the greatest at reading people. There's nothing to say that a woman can't be better at it than I am, especially than me. So especially me. So absolutely. It doesn't surprise me too much,
Well, when I was in my research, I was able to do some digging in here, and they listed the top 5 reasons why women are getting into fantasy sports. And again, focusing more on fantasy sports, but they also do fantasy sports betting or fantasy betting. Is the number one reason that the study was showing was challenge. And it says the opportunity to engage and defeat male opponents in a male-dominated environment.
Yeah, okay.
And my daughter, Paul's sister, actually bragged a few times because she won their league. Right, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to mention that. Yeah. That did happen, though. Uh-huh.
She did win. And in fact, yesterday she told me, she was excited about that reason. So, and I have a stepsister out in Arizona who, for the first time, was playing in a traditional league with her husband, and she beat him. So she's giving a little bit of a bragging right. So that's nice, and having a female perspective in there. They also other reasons were they wanted to connect with individual players. I'm guessing now they can social media, they can follow and communicate too. So. That maybe it's also, they also do it for the enjoyment, the fun and entertainment, and they also want to enhance. They're talking about enhancing the NFL experience. We already talked about this. I think you said, Paul, about making football more fun, having a fantasy aspect to it, and that's something.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the women understand. I'm not trying to be sexist here, and not generalizing. But they may not know the intricacies of what a O-line zone blocking versus a one-on-one blocking kind of thing. But when it comes to the enhancement of the game, the fantasy football does bring that out. And then the last one they do is they want to compete and bond with friends, family, and coworkers. So thoughts on those 5, you guys?
I just want to say a quick thought on that 4th one because I think that. Speaking of the fact that it's like a world that they probably weren't exposed to on their own beforehand.
Right.
I think that's the big thing is that growing up, they wouldn't have been aware that you can pick players. And all of a sudden, when you have direct players that you're excited about, the game becomes more exciting to watch, And all of a sudden, when the game is more exciting to watch and you're learning about what your player, who might be a wide receiver, is doing, and you're like, oh, this is what they do. Oh, that's kind of fun. All of a sudden, you're learning about the game subconsciously, which promotes that sort of a thing, which is why fantasy is so fun and engaging. So I absolutely think that this could be a world that they just weren't really aware of before, and that now they're like, oh, this makes it a lot more fun when I have to watch this. You know.
I agree. James, what's your thought?
It's this crazy world with respect to that, like, for example, like flag football and all the female involvement with that sport. And now all of a sudden they want to know football and maybe see, oh, man, there's no way the Chiefs are going to lose tonight or whatever team, and all of a sudden they're in.
Right.
And it's about females in sports. Like, I collect sports cards and I've always done it. But here's my first Caitlin Clark today, baby.
Oh, nice.
Hey, nice.
And if you want to like court a woman or any, like, she is.
Hell yeah.
She is a very savvy businesswoman. She's not jumping on every offer thrown her way. She's very, very, she takes her time and has people to stand by her. She's going to be the face of women for a lot of years.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she will be.
And then all of a sudden, but I think it's just a different world we're in. It's everybody's got that phone in their hand.
Yeah.
Everybody sees whatever platform it is.
Right.
X, Twitter, or whatever, Instagram or Facebook or whatever. There's a lot of, you're getting fed this, and then all of a sudden you see your best friend who just won something. Like, hey, if you could predict, like, we need to be a time travelers and go back to 1978 and we'd be billionaires with $20 in our pocket.
Yeah.
But it's crazy how many good people are good at sports betting.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter female or male. Like, I had a buddy who you got 11 out of 12 legs and 12 out of 13 legs. And heartbreak city.
Right. I think
by 1 yard, but it's addicting, it's just happening.
I think long gone are the days of women picking players because of the color of their jerseys, or maybe because of how they look in their pants, or the city that they're in. They know the game. And you saw a commercial on the Super Bowl. I think one or two of them were women playing flag football, and it's awesome. So that's you got a good example of Caitlin Clark there. So I think women in sports is a big thing, and having them the ability, not the ability, like it's the wrong word, but the knowledge enough to compete in what's been labeled as a male-dominated fantasy sports world for such a long time.
Right.
Now they're in it, and I don't know how they do. I know Kathleen did really well with hers, and I know Deb did well in hers, and Candace, she's always in the top in our leagues here with her team, K-Box Crushers. So I do think it's going to be awesome having more female players in the fantasy world.
Man, look at you dropping Caitlin Clark on here, James. That's great, man. I forgot about her. She's doing shit.
Got an applause button there, James?
Yeah, here, we'll just give you a quick little applause here. One for James Ranger.
You can't hear it, James, but actually we just applauded you, so that's fantastic.
Right. Well, thank you for the applause.
That's fantastic. So, and of course,
let me call Caitlin. I'll get her on the phone with you, right?
Okay, that'd be awesome. Put her on the
Hell
show.
yeah.
That'd be great. So so I'm going to ask Pablo to play that rockin' music that we have as we transition now into our betting. That's the wrong one, Pablo.
Yep.
There you go. Okay, good enough. As we transition, we've discussed it a lot, and James has given us a few ins and outs and goods and bads in the sports betting world. But so we've talked a little bit about this in the past in our podcast with the plus numbers and the minus numbers and what they really mean, and the point spread and the money line. And we actually had, if you weren't aware, James, on our podcast, we had I created an AI. I don't know, feed, I guess you'll call it. And the AI on the money line was 69.1% accurate. And they were 47% accurate on the spread line. But they were very, very aggressive on some of these spreads. Like there were several in the 20 range. So if I could get them to tone in a little bit, it can be pretty impressive. But AI was 7 out of 10 essentially on the money line. So there are a lot of things we've talked about here on the EFF now. I can't say the L anymore, can I, Paul?
Yeah, we're going to be switching that over.
We're going to be dropping the L. The L logo is going to be changing up there in a second. The L is going to be gone. But on the EFF, that we're going to actually start having the ability to have a sports betting advice part of our website and our levels to subscribe to. So James, you are one of the in-house favorites that we have and most knowledgeable people on our betting cycle, you and Mr. Joe Bliss. So tell me a little bit about first of all, how you got into sports betting, maybe a little bit of a quick story of maybe your first few times of betting. And then don't tell us your big secrets, but what makes James Ranger tick? I know you said you had 46 bets. I can't imagine 46 bets on one game. So help us out a little here, bro. What's going on?
You're talking to, like, I'm a 91 UNLV grad. Like, my mom, like, everybody thought I'd flunk out after a year. You know what I mean? But I was gambling, like, pictures of me with cards in my hands when I was 4 years old. And we had a clique from 2 high schools, 10, 12 guys. We'd be playing poker every Friday and Saturday or every other, weekend day type of regular.
Okay.
And you couldn't get in. And freshman year, 1984, without $100, we'd just kick you out, unless you had beer.
Yeah.
But,
all right.
But I've always been gambling, and I had a couple old timers. Like, I bar backed at the Barbary Coast after I graduated, but I was in there for seriously 3 years of my life as a minor. And these old timers, like, it's different now, like, because everybody gets the information and millions of people get it right away. It wasn't like that back in 1989, 90, and 91.
Okay.
But I learned a few things that I've always stayed with. And if you want to make some money, they even have it on these platforms, but bet a round robin. Get 3 games, bet them 110 each to win 100. Bet 3 2-teamers $50 to win $1.25.
Okay, wait. You just
bet
passed
a
it there.
3-teamer.
Wait. Hang on, James.
Okay.
You went over my
to
head
win.
there. You went over my
300.
head. I think I know sports betting decently well, but what's a round robin?
Sure.
Round robin is just you pick a team and you're going to bet that team straight up on your regular line. Let's say it's minus 110 or minus 115.
Okay.
And you're going to bet that double your parlay action. So it works out a little more than that because it's different now, because you could get minus 130 in there or minus 120. So you have to bet 120 or 130 to win 100. But you bet each game's 3 teams, 3 results. It could be a player prop bet. It could be an over-under. It could be a plus or minus team. And you bet 3 of them. You bet 3 $50 2-teamers with all 3 of those picks, and then you bet a 3-teamer that gets 6 to 1. So you get 2.5 to 1 for your 2-teamers and 6 to 1 on your 3-teamer.
Okay.
If you're to bet those $100 units, you got $975. You only have $530 invested. You got to go 3-0, man. You go 2-1, you're up a little. You go 1-2, you're. You go 0-3, you do something different.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
And if you can hit round robins, like when I said I started out 21-1 in 1997, in first 3 weeks, I had 3 straight weeks of round robins. And then press it the next week, 220 to win 200, 3 $100 2-teamers, $100 3-teamer. You hit that, you're talking $1,950, $1,970.
Wow.
And then you do that 3 weeks in a row, you're up $5-6 grand. You know what I mean?
Well, it sounds simple. Let's just do that.
Right. Get more people on
and
that.
You just need to you need to know injuries. You need to know weather. You need to know like how to look into things. Like I need big scoring games. I don't care. Like my betting strategy is different because now I didn't even care who won that Philly and KC game. I just cared about players doing what they got to do, and it didn't happen.
Right.
And that's the different thing. Like my betting has changed over the years, and you have to adapt, because my strategy is this: if Caesars is going to give me 3 50% boosts where I can put $10 in, or I can bet $10 max, I'm depositing $30. That's it. If Fanatics wants to give me $100 50% boost on a straight up bet or any style bet, I'm going to put in $100. You know, if you want to go ahead and bet MGM, you got 3 boosts, a 30, a 20, and a 40. You can bet $20 each. I'm betting deposit $60.
You
and when I'm
me there.
done with that day, all the money's out in my all the money's in my bank, and I reset. And that's how you got to think.
Right.
Wow.
If you want to be serious.
Wow.
You know, I don't want to. If I would have bet $10 to win 100, why wouldn't I bet $10 to win 150 on that 50% boost? And that's it. Even if they give you one bet, you know. But I wish it was all about rocket science. It's about ammo. Like when I don't have ammo, I got to take higher risk, higher reward bets,
right,
and stray from my normalcy. And that's the different thing. You know, that's the difference about my change and my gambling habits. They're much different because of what's out there and what I can grab onto.
Sure.
You know, and that's the beauty about these things. I can withdraw money and it's in my bank account in less than 3 minutes. I don't have to hunt down my bookie.
Right.
I don't have to hide from him coming here to collect 3 days later.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? That type of, and beg him to pay me before Tuesday got here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that type of. But that's the interesting thing. Like the big bet back when I was in college, and I did it every week. If I would have won, I would have had my dad fly out because I wasn't 21 yet. But you could bet a 15-team parlay at the Barbico's $5 to win $100 grand.
Wow.
And you could have up to like 100 entries. So some guy from Cali's flying out every weekend just to turn in 100 entries. Like it went out maybe once a year. If it did twice, I don't think it ever did.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I was 13-2 twice, and I still have those damn tickets. I was like 2 games off $100 grand. So, I mean, we all have our stories. You know, I have great winning stories and just sorry losing stories too.
Yeah.
You know, everybody has them that does it.
Definitely. Know? That's how you grow, you know. That's how you grow.
It is. It's how you reset. I have a hard time resetting if you feel like you got shafted. Like,
when you feel like you did everything you could.
If you just saw me leave Buffalo Wild Wings this year, like 8 weeks ago, you know, oh my God, that guy's crazy, dude. But it was in Sam Darnold. They didn't call the face mask in the end zone.
Oh
my!
That was a criminal. That was criminal
and
on
I
that
needed
call.
Justin Jefferson for 3 yards receiving and Aaron Jones for 5 yards receiving or rushing. Mm-hmm. It was going to happen.
Wow.
But it did.
Yeah, I can definitely see that there definitely needs to be a James Ranger round robin down the aspect of our betting platforms coming up pretty soon. So we may have to hire you, James. I think you and Joe.
One way.
I also think that Buffalo Wild Wings needs to maybe invest in some sort of like buffer for bad games that get played, you know, in local areas. Like right now, the Chiefs, they might need a lot of people to help out their local Buffalo Wild Wings in the area, right? People might be a little down when they come in.
Holy cow, it was crazy. Like for example, another strategy is let's say you know one thing, you really are confident. And I had a few years of stretch where, for example, when Manning went to the Broncos and they were going, every game went over. Like they were scoring machines. So I'd bet $1,000 2-teamers with the Denver Broncos over. And $1,000 on 1,100 win 1,000 on that over. So if I went 0-10 on those, you know what I mean? That's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So every hit's $250. You know what I mean? So if you can go 3 out of 10, you know what I mean? 4 out of 10, you know. But the biggest thing is getting your money at least and making a big bet.
Right.
There's always ways. Like I like scaling up guys. For example, in the weeks I don't, I get pissed. Like CeeDee Lamb is his over under is 80. His regular line 6 catches. Mm-hmm. I'll make that bet for whatever $50, $100, but then I'll make $50 that'll go for 107 catches and get the booster upper. Then I'll bet him 125 to get 8 catches and even throwing a touchdown, and then you're really boosted. But there's ways to maximize your ability. If you're right and if you call it, it's going to be a hell of a good day.
Wow.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just about strategies. I was always a good blackjack player. I've won a lot of money playing high limit, non-peak time blackjack where nobody's there. And I miss my place. I don't do as well. You fall in love with the place, you do well at a place, and all of a sudden it's not there, and now you don't have a place.
Interesting. Yeah.
But it's crazy how if you just delve into it, I get mad. Like one year I bet 3 bets. And it was one of my 3 bets but they were bigger bets, was the year Brett Favre's dad died on a Monday night game. He was playing for his dad.
Right.
And he went off.
Sure.
I think he got 5 or 6 touchdowns. It was tearjerker.
Man, yeah.
You can find a bet you like. Like people get invested where, like I have this problem at times, and I try to step out of your own element, but you don't have to bet every game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bet the highest scoring projected game and pick some guys off the hat.
Yeah, definitely.
So quickly, we're already on time here. So quickly, how do you keep your heart out of it? You said you're a Bears fan. I'm a Lions fan. I'm a Michigan fan. So
I just choose not to bet them. Okay,
you don't bet your heart. You don't bet your own heart teams.
I might fall off the wagon a few times, but I don't bet anything big.
Soft wagon?
I try not to. I used to.
You call it soft wagging?
No, he said he might fall off the wagon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I might fall off the wagon. And bet on the Bears like stupidly, and I go, why did I do that?
Yeah.
So I don't do that ever. Like I good luck, Bears.
Definitely.
But I don't know if they're gonna do it. That's a tough division. It's nails, and nobody talks about JJ McCarthy. I bet he's a winner.
Yeah, it's gonna be a nice NFC North, and the Lions will again
tough division.
The Lions again will reign supreme.
Well, there you have it. It seems like you just gotta keep your heart out of it and just stick with logic.
So also quickly,
James, don't ever bet, like it never works.
So James,
and then you bet against them, and it really pisses you off when it doesn't work.
Yeah. Do you bet futures at all, or do you typically stay on the immediate games, or do you bet futures?
Oh man, I was all over the futures. I like my buddy scolds me because here was his future bet. He was going to win $2,800 minimum. And he had the Lions facing the Ravens in the Super Bowl for a big payday for minimal bet, because you can hedge.
Right.
Like, you know what? Here's what I bet my futures were. Like after Washington, they beat the stinking Lions. I bet that they would beat the Bills or the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It obviously didn't happen.
Okay.
And then to hedge myself, I bet that the Chiefs would beat Washington and said, screw Philly. And you know what?
And what happened there, James?
If it did happen, I was going to make some money.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was guaranteed to make money no matter who won, and that's peaceful. Yeah. And then you can I was going to make halftime bets, but that Super Bowl, I don't, hey, you win some, lose some, but that was just one of the worst Super Bowls of all time.
It was bad.
It was so horrible. Like by halftime. All the wind was out of us, and we just said, man, we don't even want to watch. I had a few buddies over.
I remember my check-in around third quarter when I looked at the score again, and I was like, whoa. I think at that time it was 30-0. And I was like, man, all right. It seems like this was the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah. Yep.
And I hate to tell you some of my losses because some of them are damning, but when Brady's, I had the Falcons to win either 1,800, 2,800, or 4,500 based on the outcome of the game, whether it was over or under. I was good. And they're up, and oh my God, Brady comes back and biggest comeback of all time.
20-3, right?
And what sucks was that, my bookie, he'd send me if we're obviously names won't be released, but if I was up 1,000, our variance was $1,000. So if I was up 1,000 or he was up 1,000, we'd send 10 crispy hundreds in the middle of a Playboy and send it to Illinois, and he'd send me to Colorado. But nice. That game, Jack was with us. It was me and Jack and Candace, Todd.
Okay, cool.
And we're in that game, and I bet 2 guys to win MVP. I bet James White, and he went off that game. And I lost. The Falcons lost, and I was all bummed out. And I'm walking out to the deck of the mountain house, and frickin' James White walked up to the stand, like to the podium with Tom Brady. I was James White. I go, please, James White. I bet $50 to get 5,000 that James White would win MVP.
Oh,
it was going to offset my losses, and I think a few bucks. And then Tom Brady gets MVP.
Oh my
God. And Tom Brady goes, James White, you were really the MVP of this game, and you gave him the car that he got gifted and all this crap.
But nothing to you.
But
no love to Ranger. No love to Ranger. All right, hey, so I'm going to ask Paul to get the outro music going here. We got to say goodbyes. So as we're speaking here, I want to thank Mr. James Ranger for coming on the show today. Pablo and I greatly appreciate it.
Very much so. Nice meeting you, man.
Yes.
Yeah, that was fun, gentlemen.
And as always, we want to thank everybody. Please, Paul, where's it at on the screen? We don't have the like, listen, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Well, no, right in the middle. Right in the middle.
Yeah.
Right next to
there
you.
We go.
Yeah, click that, follow us, fan us, all that kind of stuff. If you're going to be out in Las Vegas, FSGA next week, I will be out there. Just looking forward to having a little fun. And again, our sponsors, as always, are 123go.io and Tabby Entertainment. And Paul, as I always say, when life gives you a chance, make it happen. Peace. Thanks, James. Be safe, brother.
Peace.